That works. How you doing, Rebel? Sound is a bit off. What do you mean sound is a bit off? Welcome. Welcome, welcome. It's a little different. Yeah. Okay. But you can hear me. All right, well, let's get started. What are we talking about today? We are going into some research that I just read this morning, and I was like, oh, maybe we can discuss that. And you know, because I like to discuss things. We're going to Zoom as well. Okay. About research around mindfulness. Okay? So I think I named this the I and the we, or something like that. It's like thinking about the individual and thinking about the collective, right? And the I and the we, or the me and the we, the we or the me. And it's interesting because this research is talking about when we do mindfulness practices or exercises or meditation, it makes us more selfish, right? Would you have thought that? Most people, I think, would, unless they're one of the ones that are, the selfish ones, they would be thinking about themselves, right? So, I'm just going to get cannot see the chat. I can only see it on Facebook, so that's really, we're going to sort that out. That's good. All right, so let me go on track because I'm a bit sort of coming off ball and whatnot. The research was published in Psychological Science journal showing that people who engage in brief mindfulness meditation become more selfish. And I was contemplating this, and it makes perfect sense to me. It makes perfect sense. So when we are on our spiritual journey and we have different understandings of that, when we're connecting, we're becoming more of who we are. Now, that's the key. Right? Some people become more selfish or about themselves, the me or the I, and others are more generous. So it's interesting to contemplate because every decision you make, where are you making that from, right? I was thinking about this morning as I was like going to the refrigerator to get, something, making my cup of tea. And I'm like, so if I'm wanting something or I'm wanting someone else to do something, is that for them or is that for me or is that for the we? Anyway, this is my life. I contemplate everything to the end of this lifespan. And, I'm serious. So I'm thinking that makes perfect sense that we become more about ourselves when we start mindfulness exercise, because we are connecting in with ourselves. It's not until we get to a particular level of our development that we start to look outside of ourselves and what we are doing in the world and how that impacts or is how it's for others. So there is the ego, right? And then there's the spiritual ego. And often we're moving from one to the next. So when I was looking at this research, I'm like, because my background, I've got a research background, so I know how to, I know how to do research. I know how to read research that is like looking for that, because if we want to get a certain outcome, we will ask questions in a certain way, right, to get that outcome. So is that the me or the we as well? Like even research. So when people say, oh, but the research says, I'll go, yeah, show me the research methodology so I can see a little bit clearer, what that outcome is. Is it biased? Like it's passing shadow. So this may not be interesting to you. I'm just starting a conversation. See, people are going to ask some questions or tell me what's going on with you. I'm not going to be here long, probably 20 to 30 minutes. Do we become, or have you found, and you probably don't want to share this, I don't know, I'm not judging you, it's neither good nor bad, it's just you. When you started on your spiritual journey, did you become more about yourself? Right? I teach you to be about yourself at the beginning. I teach that. We have great outcomes from people touching into the self, what their body needs, what their energy needs. That's a great starting point. So it doesn't matter to me, technically, whether you're about the me or the we, because it's about your development. And as you develop, mindfulness meditations aren't necessarily your spiritual journey, right? They're not going to create great jumps in the matrix for you. But they're a starting point, and they're a tool that we use, particularly if you're dealing or challenged by certain behaviors, for instance, or certain emotions. So touching in, bringing in a little mindfulness in an exercise, like we literally were just doing that. And, people are having great breakthroughs with touching into the unconscious, like what's going on that's preventing them from moving forward, because they're unconscious of it. They're not aware of that part, and they're not aware then that it's held, the charge is held in the body. So then how can you be aware of what to do about it? And then you find that you're trying to move forward in life, and your fears come up, but you don't know what the fears are, right? You don't know what the fears are. We've got two rebels. We've got two rebels here now, right? You don't know what the fears are because they're unconscious, right? So this is what the Regulate to Elevate program is about. We've got a challenge coming up. Rebel, I know, you're already in. A bunch of people jumped in yesterday. I will put the link under the videos wherever you're watching, because there's a bunch of platforms going at the moment. It starts in January, and 2-day challenge, so 4 hours all up, where we're going to go into ways of touching into what's preventing you from moving forward in a way that can be done in a large group. So however many of you turn up on this Zoom call, right? When I'm doing it one-to-one, I can take you deeper, obviously, because I'm guiding and monitoring and titrating you in, if it's a trauma aspect. But in a big group, we do it a little differently, and you can still have shifts and changes in your relationship with your body. So is that selfish? Is that what they mean by the me or the we? Because if there's no me, there is no we. And if you're all about others and you're lost in that, then that's not healthy either. And I see that as the extreme. So we've got people that are only about themselves, and then we've got people on the other end of the spectrum that are only about doing everything for everybody else. They're lost in the world. And a lot of you are empaths, right? When you're with somebody, and kinesthetic, because that's me, right? I'm an empath kinesthetic. Double whammy of, well, I'm a triple whammy of sensitivity. And all the layers, we talked about that yesterday, and how to navigate that, because I guess because there's different symptoms, and how you feel it in the body is different. Okay. So I'm going to move this microphone. Okay. It's a bit scratchy. So I'll move it closer to me, and hopefully it works a bit better. So the shadow. All right. So me, we. The other thing I want to touch on is that how you are is magnified. I teach this in the Evolver program, which isn't available at the moment, but in Intuitive Studies, which we start again in February, we will be touching on some of this. So when we expand in our frequency, let's say, our nervous system starts to get, a little bit, what would you call it, a little bit activated, because there's change happening. So we go into our stress response or responses. So as we start to magnify who we are literally magnifying who we are. It's not rocket science, right? It's not rocket science. If you're a shitty person, you're going to be a bigger shitty person. They say this with money too. Money magnifies who you are. If you're an awesome person, give you $1 million and you're going to be a $1 million awesomeness, or $1 billion awesome. And if you're a cranky, shitty human, you're going to be a cranky, shitty millionaire. Money does not make you happy. It magnifies who you are. So who are you? How are you? And, you need some refinement there of your past beliefs and conditioning, aka trauma, complex relational trauma and attachment, right? Because we're unconscious of it. We are not aware of what creates our fear or our love. Why we're drawn to things and why we're not. We're not aware. I literally just came, that's why I was a bit late. I came off a session and, she won't mind me saying, I'm sure, because you won't know who this is. But it's like, she came with a particular issue. And she left going, wow, I had no idea that was there. Because it was unconscious. What's stopping us from moving forward? We feel it, but we don't know what it is. Or we'll blame, or victimize, or tantrum. Oh, it's so fun. I'm laughing because my daughters don't let me get away with anything. They're so like, sometimes I'm like, my license is running out, my driver's license is running out, I can't get a driver's license here, all this bureaucracy. And they're like, here's the form, just don't make it harder than it is. It's like, yeah, okay. So they're mother's daughter. But do you see what I'm saying? It's like sometimes we are doing that to ourselves. We're like making things much harder than they need to be. Or the fear that's coming up is we feel it in the body. How many of you feel it in your body? You know where you want to go. Some of you don't. Those of you that know what you're going towards, how many of you? Let me know. Because I do read the chat. Write in the chat. And if I can't see it right now, I'll read it afterwards. Do you know where you want to go? Do you have a dream, a goal, a vision? Okay. What is it? Write it down. Even if it's not in the chat, write it down for yourself. What is it? Like you have something that you want to do. It doesn't have to be massive. It could be, I want to sort out my driver's license. That's a goal. You see? It's a goal. What's stopping me from doing it? There is a fear there, and I'll tell you. Like, since we've been so transparent that, I tell you everything anyway. When I originally got my license, I was very anxious. And I've been driving since I was 8 years old. Not that I couldn't drive. It's that when I had somebody sitting next to me, that changed everything. I was driving when I was a young mum. I was driving around with my eldest daughter in the car. You know what I mean? It's like, but to get you in Australia, you've got different levels of license. So I had my learners, so I could drive. But to get your P, your probationary, you had to do the driving test and all of that. So I have memories of that, traumatic memories. I'm storytelling here, so I'm a drama queen. I exaggerate some things, so I'm exaggerating a little bit. And so my issue here yesterday was, I'm going to have to go for my whole license again because it's going to run out in Australia and I won't be able to drive here because I won't have, an international license, blah, 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 big story. Ultimately, it's okay. Oh, I may have to go for my license again. So what? I've got my truck license. I've got all my different licenses. I can drive. I don't have anxiety anymore because I cured myself back in the day through doing processes that I still teach you today. And so I'm good. It's not the same. You see? It's not the same. But the fear feels the same. So and that's a conscious fear. That's fairly conscious, right? Or why am I worried about my license running out? Because I can't get back, I can't do it online. You know, some people will say, you can do it online. Well, I can't because it's a certain period of time and I have to go in and sign it and do another photo and all that stuff. 5 years ago, I did it online. So these are things, like I'm just telling you everyday things, or maybe not everyday things, but there are things that you're going to need to do, and there'll be goals to, or okay, I've got to do that. It may not be your passion, but I may need my license to drive myself to my passion. Okay. When I'm able to do in-persons again, right? Like there's, immigration stuff going on there. But when I'm able to go out again, right, or do live retreats and stuff, I don't need to drive. Although I could just get somebody to drive. I mean, that could be a goal. I could just get somebody to drive. I enjoy driving. I like it. So anyway, I'm going on about story. What is your goal? Or is something that, you need to put into place to be able to get to what you're wanting. So I want my license renewed. Okay, what do I have to do for that? It's a pain in the ass. So I've worked out, I'm looking at my phone here, I'm going to try and do it by mail, send a photo in, all of that, see how it works. If it doesn't work, then I'll just wait till I can get a license here. No big deal. So our fears come up in everything. And the more we've dealt with our fears, well, dealt is not a great word, the more we acknowledge our fears, right? Okay, well, why am I making it? Like, it wasn't a big deal. It was just like frustration. It's like, all right, I have to go through this whole process, right? It's life. But if I find myself ruminating over it, sweating over it, complaining to everybody about, then I know that there's fears there that are maybe unconscious. Like, my leadership's not good. I need some work. I'm not able to hold that extra stress. You see the difference? It's not that you don't ever feel anything. It's not that you don't ever say, oh, what a pain. Because sometimes things are just a little, right? You might say, oh, what a pain. What a pain. And then what can I do about it? Okay, this, and this. So I did this, and this. And I found out to do it this way. It's a little bit extra work, but off we go. So what is it that's a little bit of a pain to you that you need to do because it's part of a bigger plan? It may be, I'm thinking, it might be something to do with payments for the house, or, or if you're renting and it's not working out for you, what you might need to do, but that's going to be a pain in the ass. You might need to move. You might need to sell your car, right? Think of all the things that are like just that extra work that you really, it's not hard necessarily, but it's just extra on what you're already holding. So whatever that is for you, it might be medical things. You have to go to the physio every week, or the whatever it is. It could be, that you're wanting to get fit. So you get up every morning, or go to the gym, or eat a particular way, or move a particular way, or whatever it is. It's extra on your normal state of consciousness. So becoming aware of what it is that you need to do or want to do and what prevents you from doing it. So what comes up, you can call them blocks or all of that. I generally don't use the word block. It's a fear. The fears that come up that impact your system in a particular way. You will feel it in the body. So when you think, let's do a little experiment. You up for it? Now, if I had you one-to-one, we could go very deep with this. In the challenge, we'll do a little bit more. So again, I'm putting the challenge out there because we're going to go a little bit deeper into this sort of stuff, the fears and what's preventing you from moving forward. So you can get a little bit more of an idea. The people that I can see that are on, you've already signed up to the program. So like the challenge is just, you know, come and see what you're going to do more of, I guess, right? And you can ask more questions and whatnot. So take that piece of story or information. Like for me, I could say, okay, renewing my driver's license, right? It's no big deal, yet it brings stuff up because it's like, do I have to redo my driver's test? And I had a fear. And as I'm speaking, I can feel that what I did feel is gone. Like I'm not feeling. So what I did last night is already cleared that fear because I acknowledged it and I went, you know what, worst case scenario, I have to go my driver's license again. And really, okay, it's time, but I don't get anxious anymore. And I've been driving all sorts of vehicles professionally, and like I have my truck license. You know, I used to drive trucks in the army and all sorts of stuff, like off-road and up mountains and through all sorts of stuff. So there's no reason for me to be scared. So what was that about? And I went back to how I felt when I was originally getting my license. It was still held in the body. So take whatever that fear is, or that, you know, when I say fear is anything that's felt in the system. You know, you might feel it in your chest, your throat. It might make you go, ooh, a little dizzy. You might feel it in your legs, your gut, your arms, your mouth. You might get dry in the mouth. Water. Like whatever that is for you. So close your eyes. Or if you don't feel safe to close your eyes, your one-pointedness, either on the wall or the floor, just connect into the body. So when you think of that one piece, not the whole story, but that one piece of, okay, for me, sitting in the car having to go for my driver's license again, where do I feel it in my body? What happens in my body when I bring that information in? Now, please don't go into something really traumatic because, you know, I can't see you unless I can see you on Zoom, right? So if you're on the live, or if when we do the program, I can see you and I'll be working with you, right? But if you're just listening, just choose something, you know, that's more frustrating than anything, you know, something that's frustrating, right? Because we don't want you to go into a trauma response. We just want you to feel something in the body. So it's as simple as that. Feel it, acknowledge it. Okay, so when I'm talking about this, I feel it in my chest, in my breast, in my shoulders, where do you feel it? Is it an emotion? Does the emotion come up? What is the emotion? And you're just tracking it a little. You're tracking it a little. And I just want you to say, oh, there you are. I remember you. to have a conversation with it. So I'm doing it differently to how I would if I could see you. Because, I want to keep you safe and health. So it's just like, hey, there you are, sadness, there you are, sorrow, there you are, anger. I see you, I remember you well, yeah. And you served me well in the past, right? Or whatever it is, that feeling. Oh, there you are. Pressure in the chest. I remember you, yeah. I remember the last time I felt you. Yeah. How are you today? Like, what's going on today? Do you have something to share with me? Do you have a message? What are you trying to tell me? I'm here, I'm listening. So you're in this space, and you're listening. When I say listen, you're listening with all your sensory systems. Listening deeply with the ear of the heart. And breathe. And as you're listening, the experience will most likely shift. It may move to another place in the body. It may move to a different emotion. It may get deeper, it may get lighter. Just notice what's going on. Just noticing, like you're being curious about what's happening and just allowing whatever needs to happen. So we're just touching in. We're just touching in. And you're acknowledging whatever it is you felt physically or emotionally. And now you're just going to ask that emotion or that felt sense, does it have a message for you? Does it have a message? Stay connected to it. And you'll want to go off into story, but keep coming back to either the emotion or the felt sense and ask it, let it know that you're listening, and what is the information or the message that it has for you. Just be open to whatever it is, how you feel. If it could talk to you, what would it say? The more that we are connecting to ourselves, right? We started off talking about selfishness, being selfish, being about the I, or being about the we. The way that I work with people through their development, I often take them back to the self and being about the self so that they can be greater and hold more responsibility for what it takes to be the we. Right? So often when we say, oh, okay, broad statement of mindfulness makes you selfish, well, it possibly does, because, we are touching into the self. What you just did is touching into a mindful practice. You're listening, you're going inward, you're touching into an emotion or a physical sense and what's going on there. And there's a relationship that's built. So I could go into all the theory on the the I and the self and all these psychological theories, right? To pull it apart. Today we're just going, you know what? In our development, there are times when we need to be more about just ourself, yourself, to work with it at that deep level, to be able to shift and bring to light that is in the dark. So it's the unconscious, it's the conscious. And they say that there's more light in the dark because when we do that, it's like, and the more that we bring that awe, right, we can then be more for others. We must start with ourselves and how solid we are, because there's the other end that I talked about too, where we're giving to everybody else, and we're so depleted. So there's, you know, the fear of fear and the fear of love. There's the two ends of the spectrum where maybe we're doing for everybody else because we're afraid of connecting to ourselves. We're afraid of some aspect of ourselves. How do we, like, what if I connect to that part and all my demons come up? And the terror that is. So to do this work takes some courage, because you may not know what's in your unconscious. You may not remember stuff from the past. Or you remember, but you were like, oh, I had no idea that it impacted you to that degree. And that's why all that fear came up. Like, I have so many jokes about me getting my driver's license. So many. I was pretty old by the time I got my driver's license. I think it was 20. I think it was 20. So I had 2 children and still didn't have my driver's license. I was getting the pram onto the bus to be holding, wait. I needed my license, but there was a fear there. And I've got a million stories about it. I'm not going to tell you, don't worry. I won't traumatize you. But I didn't really identify it until yesterday. I'm like, oh, that's why all of that stress came up of like, oh, I'm going to have to get my license. Because of the memory of when I went through it the first time. It's stuck in my body. Now, it's not a trauma. It's a sensation in my body that needed to be acknowledged. And now when I talk about it, I'm literally telling all of you, right? We don't usually talk about our fears. We don't usually want people to know what we're scared of. Okay? I talk about my fears. And then they're gone. I'm like, oh, it doesn't scare me anymore. I'm good. I can, lean into it. So I guess we'll start wrapping up because we still got a few minutes. But this is about, I guess, if we're talking about, are people selfish or selfless, and what does that really mean? On our spiritual development, there are times when we are both one or the other, and then, we split, right? Because it's polarity. We're all of it. When we're only one for long periods of time, that may be an issue, because is it because we're afraid of something? We're pulling something towards us or pushing something away from us, right? Not neutral. We haven't made a relationship with it, like, oh, hey, anger or sadness or sorrow or, distrust or, pain. emotional or physical pain. I don't want to do that because last time it hurt. Or last time I was in a relationship, my heart got broken. So even though I'm saying I want a relationship, I'm talking to somebody here. Even though I want a relationship, I still have that memory, and maybe it is a little unconscious around my heartache, or my body starts to feel it, and so I move away from somebody who may be courting. I don't know what your story is, but that could be with a job or something that you want to do. You might have wanted to sing all your life, and every time you move towards that goal of being a singer or just singing or playing an instrument or I don't know, climbing mountains or whatever it is that is in your your field to experience what the soul wants to experience. When you start to move towards it, you feel fear. And so some sabotage happens or some behavior happens for that not to be in your experience, be in your life, right? So this is why I'm showing up and saying, if you have anything, you may not be conscious of it, but if you have a vision or a goal or a dream, you just need to do stuff. Like, you need to go and do this, that, or the other, and there's something preventing you from doing it. And you may talk it away as, oh, I'm just being lazy, or it's not that important, or I don't care anyway, or whatever it is that you say to yourself, because you'll have some self-talk. Ask yourself, is this my fear? This is my fear. And it's okay. Fear is okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's love and fear. That's our polarity. It makes up our world. So when we're fearing fear, that's when there's an issue. And so I'm encouraging you to acknowledge the fear and be like, oh, okay, I feel it in my body. Emotions come up, then it's okay. That's not going to kill me. That's not going to hurt me. What hurts you is not acknowledging fear, because we suppress it. And I say it all the time, the suppressed nervous system, suppressed emotion, suppress the nervous system. Suppressed nervous system is illness, disease, not wellness and vitality. So where is that suppression? How is it happening to you and your system in particular? It's slightly different, for different people. It's about finding how you work with your fear, what happens in your body. And there's a generalized humanness to it, right? I could tell you in the fingers on my hand, what they are, but how it will come out for you is for you to say. And so you feel it, I can guide you, drop it in, feel it, experience it, navigate it, right? Navigating it is sequencing it or seeing where it moves to, or what other emotions, or it might be some of you see things, or you might see something as a reference, it helps encode it into your system often before you have a lot of memory, like explicit memory on it. So it's unconscious all the time, right? And then as you grow, because your little one doesn't understand it, possibly, and creates all this story around how you are or how you should be. And then that grows over years and it gets more And then you find yourself being a certain way, behaving a certain way, and you have no idea why you can't get there. You can't have that. Or when you're in a relationship, you love that person, but you're really not treating that person so well. Or they say one little thing and you're like, bang. And projection, it's all fear. The nervous system is reacting in a fear response, in a stress response, in a survival response, and wanting a certain outcome. And that certain outcome is to keep you alive and safe. But in a general conversation, somebody says something that you don't like or you don't agree with, why do we get triggered like they're about to stab us in the heart? Or, you know, something horrific. You know what I mean? It just doesn't, the nervous system doesn't know the difference. It's just there or there, there or there, there or there. And it's like, it's not going to stop and go, oh, but really they're not doing that. It's right. Like danger, not danger. Safe, unsafe. You know? I mean, I'm generalizing again. There are different arms that do different. So in the challenge, we're going to look at this a little more. We're going to go deeper into experiences. We'll be on Zoom so that I can see you. We're not going to go, you know, triggering, you know, deep traumas, although if they do surface, then we can address that. You know, we're not going to leave you hanging. But I would recommend that, you know, I'll talk you through, I'll guide you and be there to support as well. But it's really just to get a taste of what's going on for you in, you know, your general everyday fears that, I mean, they can touch deep really quick. Like within 5-10 minutes, you can have it. You know? But if you do have complex trauma or, you know, I guess, you're dealing with traumatic or you're coming out of a traumatic situation, you know, it may not be the environment to jump into because you would need the tools. You need some tools to be able to regulate. So I can teach you some tools. You know, obviously we're going to touch into that before I take you anywhere. But that sort of work is one-to-one because, you know, obviously I have to monitor more closely and take you specifically to where you need. Okay. So there's only so much we can do in the group of diving in. But so far it's been the same to the person just before this. She actually said it because she told me that, well, I haven't lost anyone yet, right? Haven't lost anyone yet. So, you know, because I am aware of, very aware of re-traumatizing people. So I just don't go there, right? The safety and security of the group, so of the challenge, and just touching into where you feel comfortable. And I'm checking in. So it's really important that if you do come, that, you know, you are letting me know what's going on so that I can course correct for you and others that, you know, maybe feeling the same, because usually in a group there would be a handful that are, you know, a bunch feeling this and a bunch feeling that and a bunch feeling that, right? We're human. So, not to scare you, we're not going to go deep into therapy. It's not what it's about. It is not therapy. We're touching into the field. We're discovering what that could look like, you know. So if you did want to go on and do more, then you would have a sense, because I like to give you experiential knowing, right? So you can go, oh, I want more of that, or okay, now I know that this is where it is, or this is what I'm drawn to, and then you could go into those programs or contact them. So I think it's 11:11 here. What better time to end than that? So tying up loose ends. I think I've tied it up pretty well. We touched on being selfish, being generous, and how that is part of the development of the human, and our spiritual growth, the ego and the spiritual ego. And, you know, sometimes in that spiritual ego, we're not necessarily generous, because everything we're doing is about us. Look at me, look what I can do, I have powers, or whatever, right? So you get to that place where it's not about you. You're a conduit, right? You're in relationship. You see the difference? It's just subtlety there, right? So, and that is how we're activated, and how much we're able to build the capacity of our nervous system to hold more information. While we're not able to hold more, the theory, it's just ringing there in the peripheries, right? Or I should say the fear of fear, the fear of life. We start to get what we want, and then all our stuff comes up to show us why we shouldn't have what we want, right? That the humanness, that we don't need that necessarily. Everything that happens is beautiful, in my opinion. There's some things that support you in what you want to experience directly in this particular lifetime. And this lifetime's a blink of the eye, so it'll be gone before you know it. And why not experience what you're wanting to or ready to experience now, and not 20 years from now? Like, I wish that I had been told this and experienced this in my 20s. I wouldn't have suffered so much. Although you could say I wouldn't have learned so much, because that trauma, you know, trauma is a gateway to self-realization. But we need that stability. Otherwise, it goes into all this sort of difficulties we might call spiritual emergencies. Trauma can be and is one of the gateways for illumination, but how we can navigate it and have an understanding of it and be solid, so that we're not then impacting ourselves or others with that behavior is important. So, all right, on that note, I'm going to love you and leave you. And what day is it tomorrow? Friday. See, I just work one day at a time. I'm going to look what I'm doing tomorrow. Whether I'm going to be here or not, am I going to be here? Yeah. So, until you tell me what you want to hear about, I'm just going to continue to see what shows up in my field like this. I opened, you know, it was an email about this research. I was like, oh, I'll talk about that today. So hopefully something in that was helpful. And get some other things ready. So the challenge is January 6th and 7th. 7th, 6th and 7th. Yeah, 6th and 7th. I was telling you. 6th and the 7th. And it's a different time so that we can get our European friends involved. And I'll put the link in. 2 days, it's a little bit longer, so it's 2 hours each day. We do some Q&A at the end, but it'll be more experiential. I'll set you up with some regulation tools first, and then a little bit of info, but then we'll go into a little bit more depth in what we say so that you get a better sense of what the program's about. So it's almost like a tiny little try before you buy. So that's the one that's more about regulation into your elevation. But we do have the intuitive studies program. And yeah, if you sign up for that one, you get the Relevate as well. A bundle, but you learn more about that. If you want to know more, I'll put the link to the challenge below so you can sign up for that if you want to know more about the program. Welcome to the challenge. Okay, much love. Have an awesome day. Yeah.